Here's the great thing about Elon Musk being in control of cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. He and the other billionaire bro, Vivek Ramaswamy, get to decide what is waste, fraud, and abuse. I imagine their probative eyes will overlook the fact that two of Musk's companies have more than $15 billion in federal contracts with roughly a dozen federal agencies. Musk has never been a fan of anyone trying to regulate those businesses. His companies have been the target of at least 20 investigations or reviews for violations of safety standards to pollution. Now, as head of a glorified blue ribbon panel, Elon can now easily suggest that we simply dispense with any regulatory agency that has been a nuisance to his companies. I'm talking the FAA, the EPA, maybe even the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Yay for him, eek for us. Because, there wouldn't be any agencies left looking out for 330 million Americans. Just one former illegal immigrant from South Africa. Joining me now are two MSNBC political analysts. Tim O'Brien, senior executive editor of Bloomberg Opinion, and Tara Setmeyer, co-founder and CEO of the Seneca Project and former Republican communications director. I'm going to go to you first as a former staffer, Tara, for you to explain to us, for those who don't understand, how it normally works when a president sends a budget to the Hill and spending decisions are made.
Yeah, so back in the days of when government was functional and not under attack, the power of the purse originates with Congress, right? You have the Ways and Means Committee. Being the chairman of Ways and Means used to be one of the most powerful positions in Washington, next to the Speaker of the House. And those appropriations bills for all of the different cabinet agencies would originate in the House. They would pass them individually. Then they would go over to the Senate, and then everyone would vote on the budgets, and it would pass. We haven't had that process work in a very long time. That's why we end up with these continuing resolutions. This has been going on for a long time. It's been very dysfunctional. We haven't had a balanced budget since the 90s, since Bill Clinton was president. So this system has been broken for a long time. But the difference here is that it still originated with Congress. And the idea that Elon Musk and Ramaswamy are coming in here, and they think that they're going to go in and basically remove this power of the purse from Congress and hand it over to Donald Trump. Not only, is that completely against the 1974 law that tried to stop Nixon from doing exactly what Trump is trying to do with this whole impoundment idea, where he can just circumvent Congress's appropriation of these departments or programs and just say, I don't like you, I'm going to hold it back. Donald Trump tried that with Ukraine and got impeached for it. So they're actually thumbing their nose at federal law. They're daring the courts to say, stop us. And we could really head for a constitutional crisis here. And I don't think members of Congress are going to be too happy about giving up their own power. That's their job. And so they will be literally ceding their job and their power to Donald Trump.
I will bet you a case of champagne that they will cede their power and they'll become the Duma and let him do whatever he wants. But I'm going to hold that thought for just a moment.
That's what makes this so scary.
They're going to cede their power. Let's just be clear. And John Roberts will be like, what Constitution? I've never heard of such a thing. He can do whatever he wants. He's our king. And Tim, this is the reason that that I wanted Tara to explain that. People get really frustrated with government because they don't understand why a politician promises they're going to do X and then they can't do it because the slowdown, the speed bump is the Constitution and the Congress, which says, whoa, we decide how this money is spent, not you. And so that whole slow process actually slows things down. But there are some things that Republicans have wanted to get rid of for a really long time. And Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk have already earmarked a lot of things they want to get rid of. Let me tell you a couple of them that are going to be super unpopular. $120 billion for the VA medical services. $48 billion in drug development and opioid addiction treatment. That's something that people seem to want. They don't like the State Department, $38 billion there. $37 billion, though, in housing assistance. That could be gone. $37 billion for the Justice Department. They're happy about that. They don't want that, right? But $35 billion in education spending. If you have a special needs kid, that might be a problem for you. $28 billion for NASA because SpaceX gets that money now. $24 billion health care and student loan programs. They're going to be mad about that. $13.5 million for Head Start. That's been on Republicans' list for a really long time. The PACT Act, which has expanded VA health care for veterans and solved the burn pit situation. That would be gone. $9.5 billion there. I could go on. They think they're going to get rid of Sesame Street because they're mad that Sesame Street is too woke and has little purple and brown and black Muppets. Sesame Street is $5 million a year that it gets from the federal government. Million with an M. A billion is 1,000th of a trillion, and our budget is $6.75 trillion a year. So this is not savings that are really meaningful because all the money's in defense. So, Tim, talk to me about how this is going to go over when they start cutting these things that I think a lot of even Donald Trump's voters probably like.
You know, there'd be so many things to pluck out, Joy, from each one of those examples you gave, because people only really realize how government works on their behalf when programs they deeply rely upon get cut. And government services are deeply embedded into American life. And for the most part, a lot of that is stuff we all rely on and have gotten used to for a long time. And the federal government does a lot of that very well. Do they overspend? Yes. Could they use more monitoring? Of course. Are some of the regulations an overreach? Absolutely. Should all of this simply be knocked down with a sledgehammer to its foundations indiscriminately without any consideration for what these programs absolutely do? Absolutely not. Just consider, you had so many good examples, but Head Start has an amazing track record for helping young, low-income children get ahead in the world educationally. It has a long track record. It's regarded as one of the most successful government programs that target young children. It's empirically been demonstrated to be effective. And when we help kids, they become productive members of society, particularly if they start out with disadvantages, economically or educationally. And programs like this that address those problems help them become individuals and strong American citizens. Let's look at NASA then. Okay.
Yeah, sure. Go for it. Go for it.
Well, with NASA, the thing about NASA that will be very interesting to watch is that SpaceX, Elon Musk's company, came into being because it got NASA contract. Tesla was originally founded on the back of taxpayer subsidies before Musk took it over. But its success was derived out of a partnership with the federal government. And certainly SpaceX's was. SpaceX wouldn't be in existence if it hadn't gotten those NASA contracts. So when Musk goes into NASA, is he going to pull the plug on contracts that benefit his company? Vivek Ramaswamy made his money in biotech. What's he going to do when he starts to look at FDA programs that work with biotech companies? And on and on and on. I think this is performative.
I think we can guess.
And a lot of it's going to be damaging.
Damaging and very lucrative for them.